In this video, we want to continue where we left off with the line trace setup, but we want to move it over to the server so that way everything is set up and replicated. And on top of that, I also want to change the interaction distance that we get with our character. So what I mean by that is when I press F, I want to change how far the line travels. So currently we are at, where is it? 500. So we're at 500 Unreal units, which is 500 centimeters because Unreal goes by centimeters. So we want to make this editable. So we're going to go into our header and create a U property. So U property, edit defaults only. We're going to set the category to equal, let's do escape room character. We're going to have a float, interaction distance, and in our .cpp, let's go ahead and set, I'm in the wrong function. Let's go to our constructor and set it to 500 by default. Now, instead of using our typed 500, we're going to instead use our variable interaction distance. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and create the server RPC. So under interact, I'm going to do a U function. It's going to be of the type, if I can spell this right, it's going to be of the type server. I want it to be reliable because it's very specific to gameplay and with validation. So we're going to do void server underscore interact. Now with this, I want it to take in, to make sure it's very precise, I want it to take in the location and rotation of the player, of the player's camera. So we're going to take in an F vector and an F rotator. So F vector, camera location, and a F rotator, camera rotation. So let's go ahead and generate the implementation. And it will create, well, if you're using Rider, you may have to do this manually if you're on Visual Studio, but it'll create a server underscore interact underscore implementation and a server underscore interact validate that returns a Boolean. So for this one, we're just going to return true for the time being. And let's go up. And in the implementation, we're going to do some fun stuff. So in the interact validate, I want to do a check. So check if camera location is within distance of servers follow camera. So this is going to be what dictates whether or not we return true or false. So that way we can do some basic cheat prevention, assuming we remember, which we should. So now in the server interact, we have our location and rotation that we want to use. So what we're going to do is we just want to do pretty much the exact same thing as our interact. So with our interact, we can really kind of simplify this by just having a simple, what do you call it? Function that we can call and just pass in the start and end, as well as just, actually better yet, instead of passing in the rotator, let's just pass in the end. So we can, yeah, we'll pass in the start and end. That seems simpler. So we're going to pass in another F vector. This is going to be camera start, and then camera end. So those are going to be our parameters instead of the F vector and F rotator. Just like that. That should really kind of make things a little bit easier. So we're going to pass in our start and our end to this function only if we get a blocking hit. And we're going to do another check later on when we have the, where is it, the pickup interface. So it's only going to trigger the server RPC if we hit an actor that has the pickup interface. So for now, let's go ahead and just, actually we can copy this stuff, or we can create another function that kind of simplifies it for us. So it probably wouldn't hurt to have, I don't know, just a basic static library somewhere, or just a list of functions that we can use that contain all this for us. But for now, we're just going to do void, or better yet, let's return let's return a Boolean. Let's do perform line trace, F vector start, f vector end, and we want to make it take in a f hit result by reference, like so. So let's create the implementation, and let's copy this line trace setup. So let's copy the start and the end, or just the what do you call it? We're going to make it return just this. To perform line trace, we return our hit result. So we need our parameters, like so. And we are pretty much good to go. So now we can delete that if statement and just call perform line trace, pass in our hit result, our start, and our end, and we can remove our parameters like so. So that will, because it's taking a reference to our hit result, it will fill it up for us like it would normally. We're passing in the start and the end, so it's going to perform it all the same. And then I want to do, actually before we return, I want to do another check. Oops. So here we can simplify it even farther. Well, not simplify, but make it nicer. So for the last parameter, we're just going to do bool. Let's do draw debug. And by default, we're going to set that equal to false. So now, pass in the last parameter. So draw debug. So if draw debug, we draw the debug line, like so. So we're going to pass in true. So now we're going to draw the debug line. We're going to perform our line trace, send out all the detail back to our hit result. We're also going to return true if we hit anything, because line trace single by channel, the returns true if a blocking hit is found. So we simplified it a good bit. So now on the server, actually better yet, let's test this first. That is always a good idea. So let's go ahead and do a recompile. Okay. Hit play, we press F. We have our line trace going all the same. And now let's try it. And we're not going to pass in the last parameter, so we go ahead and save it. Control Alt F11. Press F. Oops. Well, we just deleted the floor by doing that. But the line trace, or sorry, the debug line is no longer being printed or shown. So we know we're good to go. Our function's working. So now from the server interaction, we can do the same thing. So I'm just gonna literally do the exact same thing. Except instead of start and end, we just pass in camera start and camera end. And on the server, we are, well, good to go. So on the server, we do pretty much whatever we need to, just like before. So in this case, we do the same thing. We will destroy it, but we will remove the hit actor, we'll remove the destroy actor from the client. So now when the client does it, we are just going to call server underscore interact. We pass in our start and our end, like so. So obviously there's an improvement that can be done, because we can do and check if we're the server before we do anything first. So we finished. Let's check it. We're going to play as listen server with 2 clients. So when the client walks up and tries to delete this cube, as you can see, it deleted on the server, but not the client. So that's because this is not set up to replicate, and the only way I know how to really do that is by enabling static mesh replicate move, which it kind of throws a little fit on. But now I press F on it, it gets deleted on both clients. Well, the client and the server just fine. So we know that everything's working there. It's replicating. We just know we're good. So I'm going to undo that, because that little warning that pops up is going to get very annoying. So let's see here. Now we can do our authority check. So if has authority, we are going to pretty much just destroy the actor for the time being. And if we do not have authority, we make ourselves go to the server. So let's save this, do our live coding recompile. And we are now set up. So I press F, deletes on the server, as you can see. Press F, deletes on the server. And pretty much we're good to go. The only way we're getting onto the server from the client is if we are not the server. So if we are the server, we run this if statement here because we have authority. So we have our line trace pretty much set up and what do you call it? Good to, not good to go. I'm trying to think of what you call it. We have our line trace replicated. That's the word. We have our line trace set up. It's replicated. We're going to the server. The server is being authoritative and handling everything we need. So we know we're good. And that's going to be it for this video. In the next video, we're gonna just probably, we're probably gonna have to do our pickup interface, which is going to in turn make us, well, have to create a basic class to kind of test stuff with. So that's probably what we're gonna do next. And yeah, that's it. If you like what I'm doing and you want to help support me, you can find a link to my Patreon down in the description below, where we create Team Deathmatch from the ground up using Unreal Engine with C++, and that's just for my patrons, where we do a bunch of other cool stuff too, like creating a weapon customizer, custom spawning, and all that kind of stuff. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to join my Discord that's down below as well, and I'll try to help you out. So, I'll see you in the next video.